Hey everybody, this is Jim Grzanzio from the Oracle Groundbreakers team, and I'm here with Samuel Nitsche from Germany, and this is the second interview that I'm doing for the Oracle Groundbreakers Yatra tour, and we'll be doing interviews for the next couple of weeks, actually. And Samuel, welcome to the program.
Hi, Jim. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's really great to have you. I'm reaching out to as many speakers as I can get, particularly the guys that haven't actually spoken to before. And when you responded to my mail, you actually had a picture of you with the robe there, and I said, "Oh man, that's just great. That's just great." So, what's up with that? Actually, tell me all about that.
Yeah, basically, I just like Star Wars, and I got into public speaking like 2 years ago, and I noticed that some kind of costume helps me with my nervousness, actually, because you put on a role and you are a different person for a little bit, and that actually helped me. So I had the intro of my first talk in Sith robes.
That's really
Also
cool.
helps with storytelling. And when I do talks, it's all about storytelling.
That's really interesting you say that for a couple of things, actually. I was a big, Star Trek fan when I was a kid, and then I got into Star Wars a little bit, but it was mostly a Star Trek for me. But you also said something interesting about, having the robes and having a scheme, having a, story to tell. I find the same thing when I go to conferences, that if I'm not holding my camera, I don't know what to do. It's like, how
Yeah,
do I have to talk to people like without something in my hands? I got to hold a camera so I can take pictures because I love photography, and that's how I literally make introductions. Is I go and I talk to people and I take pictures of them, and then I explain why I'm doing this, and then we can get to know each other. But beyond that, if I have to go to an event or something without a camera, I don't know what I would do.
yeah. I always love to tell stories and to write stories, and I found out giving public talks is actually a kind of business way to tell stories. So that's pretty cool for me because I love it.
Okay, so let's tell a story about what you're going to be talking about at this upcoming India Yatra tour. This is a, under normal circumstances, this is a tour of India, an actual physical tour to 10 or 15 cities. It's really insane. I mean, they go big, but this is all online and virtual. These, for obvious reasons, this year. So, what are you going to be talking about this year?
I will talk about UTP-SQL, which is a testing framework for the Oracle database. And we will meet Darth Aura here, this guy with the robes, who um, gets challenged by his supervisor to not waste any time on stuff like automated tests because we ain't got no time for this stuff. So we need to develop the functionality and finish that in time. And so let's skip all the things that we don't need. And that's my basically my story, and I will explain why that's a bit of a fallacy. And yeah, why you can include creation of automated tests right during development, and what are the benefits of that.
So actually, before you and I started talking, online here, I was telling you that I used to work in Solaris, and one of the things that I became very much aware of working with the Solaris engineers is the amount of testing that has to go into a kernel. For obvious reasons, this is a really big, scalable piece of software and tens of millions of lines of code. And if things break, that's just not really acceptable. The Oracle database is obviously something similar in terms of a very complex, piece of software that really, really serious, systems are using. So talk to me about the importance of testing then.
Um, yeah, testing has always been a very important part of software development. We find advice towards automated testing in books from 1970, I think. And the problem we have in the database development community is that we are a little bit behind. So
Really?
Let's say 20 years. In case of methodologies, of agile methodologies.
Okay.
And this is a historical problem, because when it all began, there were some folks who went with, okay, let's try this until it works, and there were the database folks who were more like, let's specify every little detail and let's see that it works the first time. Nowadays, we have agile methodologies which are much more structured than this original, let's try it and fix it until it works. And that's something we really need to pick up in the database community.
Interesting. I actually hadn't thought about the whole agile framework in terms of a database development. So are database developers embracing this now?
I can't speak for the whole database community, obviously, but I see a lot of interest in these techniques like test-driven development, like full version control, file-based approach to development. But as always, it's difficult to getting started with that.
Right. Interesting. Okay. So I also see here from your bio that you're an Oracle ace, right?
Yeah.
And how long have you been an ace?
For 1.5 years now.
Oh, okay. So you're relatively new, to the program.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's it what's it like? What's it like to be an ace? I'm not one, so I really don't know what it's like.
Well, for me personally, it's just some way that the things I do anyways are recognized, which is nice. But that's really everything about it. Because I started doing public talks, I started writing a blog, I started maintaining UTPL SQL without being an ace.
I see.
And I still do that. So nothing changed for me personally, but I got some recognition and acknowledgement that the stuff I am doing is actually interesting and is seen as valuable to people. So that's really nice.
Cool. That's really good. That's really good to know. Now, in terms of being in the program, there's like a sort of a requalification each year, right?
Yeah.
So in other words, you have to be sort of active each year to sort of requalify, I see. Yeah.
The thing is, you need to have a certain activity level each year, because otherwise you hold that recognition title without being in touch with the technology and the stuff anymore. And there has been a change before I got to the program. So it's not a change for me. It has always been for me like that you get certain points for activities. But it's really like I said, I'm not doing anything else than before. I just document the things I do anyway in an app, and then I get points for it. And there is no struggle or something for me to say, oh, I need to have another article or something.
Right.
So it's really fair from my point of view.
That's really good. That's one of the things that I was going to basically ask you if there's any tips you have. One of the things I've heard that some of the Oracle people talk about it in terms of if you want to become an ace is just to actually do what you actually have been doing, is to be yourself, but to publish. You got to get out there, and through publishing, whether it's blogs and on social media or even books. There's a whole bunch of VASES are authors of books, but not just a book here and there. Obviously many books, and so it helps them to connect with the community and also help to connect with the developers at the company as well.
There is, of course, an advantage to hold such an ACE title because I have the impression it makes it a little bit easier to get into other conferences and stuff, because there is at least some level of acknowledgement, so the organizers know, oh, okay, that's an ACE, so he or she has already proven to contribute to the community.
Right.
So
exactly.
that's maybe a little benefit.
Yeah, it's a little bit of validation that some validation has already taken place. So it's one of the things that I like to talk about in terms of communities is that you earn your way up. It's a system that's based on merit, right? So I'm wondering what we talked a little bit about testing a little bit earlier as a big issue. Are there any other trends in development that are going on these days aside from the huge shift in how we work? Is there anything that you can think of that would be interesting to talk about in terms of trends in development?
Well, I think the way in which we work and the shift in that way is really the biggest trend and also the biggest challenge for a lot of database developers, because everything is really quick and is changing pretty fast. And the reason that we have seen things like NoSQL databases in the past was that it was pretty complicated to change the data model and a little bit inflexible. And that is changing because you can do the same with relational database systems. And as we know, relational databases come with a lot of advantages compared to the NoSQL technology. So the goal should really be to embrace that changing times and embrace that development velocity and not throw these great products like Oracle database under the bus because we are not able to keep up with the changing requirements.
Yeah, it's interesting. This business changes so quickly, and it has a huge advantage if you want to get into the business. You can get in at any time, because there's always something new, and existing developers always have to keep on learning, or else they could, fall behind, to a certain degree. But the core technologies have long lifespans. There's, the really most highly scalable things have very, very long lifetimes. And if you're a big customer, if you've got, like Amazon or Oracle or something, GE or GM, these are gigantic corporations with massive amounts of users and customer interactions. You just don't switch over to something like that, So some of these systems have to be migrated over very, very slowly, for obvious reasons. What about some of the things, obviously, now that, we're behind flat screens here, in terms of your development, in terms of your education? You said you used to go to conferences and deliver talks and stuff. Now everything's online. How has that affected you guys?
I'm not sure I understood your question correctly.
Yeah. So now that, forgive me, that's my problem. The fact that we have, everyone's at home, everyone's working, through, Zoom calls like this. There's over 1 billion people at home, right? And so that, I know engineers work collaboratively a lot, it's a part of the culture. And so how has that affected you?
Well, I'm really in a very, very privileged position because I have work and my work was not affected because I can switch to Zoom calls or to Teams calls or whatever. And that's really only a very small change. So I'm very, very good. And I think a lot of developers are in a very privileged position because they are not nearly as impacted as the folks who need to go out to earn their money. Of course, there are some challenges. You have the kids at home, and you lack a little bit of the structure and the schedule of a normal day. But that's really criticizing on a very, very high level. So I'm really glad that I have the possibilities that I have.
Cool, cool. And you're in Germany. Where in Germany?
In the Black Forest, so in southern Germany.
Okay. I've been to Berlin. Yeah, that's it. But I actually, Berlin is the only place. And it was in the winter. It was very, very cold, but it was a great trip. It was a great trip. So, all right, Samuel, it was really great to talk to you. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. And when are you doing your talk?
It's on July 16th.
Oh, okay. So next week.
I think, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's just 2 full weeks of talks.
Yeah, that's really, really awesome. And that's one of the small advantages of the current situation, that all the conferences are going online, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to give a talk to the India community. So I'm really looking forward to deliver the talk, and I promise you that it will be funny or entertaining. Or I try to do so. Informative, but also entertaining.
Cool, cool. Well, I think you'll love the India community. They're very engaging, and they're very friendly, but they ask a lot of questions, and they're really, really engaging. And they too will benefit, obviously, from your perspective. And so you're gonna, I assume you're gonna present with the whole theme, right?
There will be times where I wear a robe, yes.
Okay, cool, cool. Well,
no, actually, I really already experienced that the India community is very welcoming, and I already feel that, and I really appreciate it as a speaker.
Cool, cool. Well, I'm going to have to get a more interesting backdrop for me here as well. Maybe I'll go as a Captain Kirk or something like that from Star Trek. All right, Samuel, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you very much for having me. Bye.
Thanks. Okay, bye-bye.